We're going to read chapter 10 today of Squint. So remember yesterday he found Danny's Challenges, the YouTube channel. And Danny has a disease that makes him look kind of unique and different, but he's very confident in himself anyways. His
Like
disease,
Augie?
yeah, like Augie. That's how I imagine it too. His disease is called progeria. Maybe we should look it up and see what people with progeria look like. I'm curious. Oh, okay. I'm going to show you what people with progeria look like. So he looks something like this probably. And that's how he was born because of the disease that he has, progeria. It's a very rare disease. So very interesting. That's how her brother Danny would look, something like that. And it's funny because in his YouTube videos, he says how he has, how handsome he is and stuff, which I think is really cool. So, chapter 10, Torn. Flint! A shrill voice rang from down the hall. Sometimes Grandma's voice was all sing-songy, but not now. Flint! A tingling feeling started at the front of my right eye and streamed behind it. Apparently, my grandma's voice was actually breaking things inside of me. I always suspected as much, or maybe my eye was extra irritated today. I didn't know if it was those awful contacts or going on that hike. You need to answer me. Grandma stepped into the doorway. I could see her big blonde hair and blue jeans. I looked up. Hey, Grandma. I tried to sound like I had barely heard her for the first time. Do you have rocks in your ears? She asked. No, I said. Sorry, I was looking something up. She softened a little. You didn't walk the Hulk, did you? She asked. Sorry, I said. I meant to. It's just that. So, Grandma interrupted, this is when you show that you're sorry by running out there and taking care of it. She only waited a moment. I got up out of my chair and passed her before wiping my weepy eye. No use getting her worried. I found the Hulk in the brush outside of Grandma's flower bed and moving mound of brown fur among all the other colors. Hey, Hulk, I said and lowered my voice. Come here. I've got a job for you. I tried to sound like Batman or something, real tough, but it was the same way Squint would talk to Rock. I caught the Hulk around the back and belly, then worked my hands up to the loop on his collar to hook on the leash. I tried not to get too close to his mouth. His Hulk breath smelled worse than the boys' locker room. That's definitely a downside to the gamma rays that they never mention in the comic books. Blinding light hit me and immediately my eyes stung. Stupid sun, right in my eyes. It took a couple of seconds to recover, but then we set off. I passed our neighbors, the family from Italy. At least I think they were. Something like that. What was their last name? Grandma said it all the time. The dad was working on a car he had parked in the street. Hey, Flint, he said. Adults usually call me by my real name. But what was his name? Marco, Marcello, Milano? I nodded and let out a mumble that meant hello. Why did people say hello when passing each other? Most people don't stop to talk, and I'm fine with that. Well, he said, realizing I wasn't going to say anything else, it was good catching up with you, too. He chuckled as he leaned back in over the car. He did like to laugh, especially at his own jokes. Wow, the sun was bright. I felt like I stood under some massive vaporizing laser. Of course, having the light go through my thick glasses didn't help. The glare lingered. I had to blink a few extra times and shaded my eyes. Or maybe it was bugging me so badly because I had that headache coming on. I could already feel the throbbing start behind my right eye. The Hulk stopped his stubbly waddle to sniff the base of a tree. He slobbered a little on it too. Come on, boy, I said, and tugged on the leash. Remember that job you've got to do. Again, I used my Batman voice. My right eye pulsed. I wiped it under my glasses with my sleeve. It was full on watering now. Why did it still seem bright, even with my eye closed? Pain, real pain, all through my eye. I stopped. The Hulk yanked at the leash. Stop it, I said, my voice short and sharp. No more Batman voice. I wasn't playing. Let's go back. I turned and started back with my hand cupped over one side of my glasses and my eye. The Hulk ran back the other way, pulling on the leash and letting out short, happy, but demanding barks. He definitely wanted a full walk. I tugged back hard. I had to get inside. Ah! I almost dropped the leash. The pain surged so much I almost didn't realize that I let the scream out. I faltered and fell to one knee onto the cement. I covered my eye with the other hand as well. The Hulk licked my face. I pushed him back. Ah! I let out again. Are you okay? A deep voice asked. My eye is killing me, I said without thinking. How can I help? He asked. It was Marco, or whatever his name was. I didn't answer. Can you walk? I nodded and stood while the pain faded a little, but I knew the next wave would hit soon. A strong arm reached around my back and under my arm. It smelled like grease and sweat, but I didn't care. Ah! My eye was nearly on fire. Those strong arms scooped me up and Marco started to run. We're going to go ahead and read chapter 11, I think. Chapter 11, Patch. I would have rather faced Galactus trying to devour my entire planet than go back to school. But 6 days after the eye incident, I moved down the hall toward my next class. 6 days of rest and headaches. Turns out the sun hadn't really been brighter. My cornea, the thin outside layer of my eye, had torn. My wonky windshield broke. Now I had to keep it covered and put eye drops in every few hours until I could have some terrifying surgery to fix it. I tried not to think about it. Whoa! Gavin came at me head on and grabbed me by the shoulders. Others in the crowded halls passed us. Look who we have here. He closed one eye, put up a bent pointer finger, and used his best pirate voice. It be Squint, and he be squintin'. Arr! It was the eye patch. Yep, I was a 7th grader walking the halls of middle school wearing an eye patch under my glasses. Doctor's orders and grandma's non-negotiable commands. I still had to wear my glasses because my other eye needed them to see anything. Middle school rule, if there's an easy joke, someone will take it. And a boy wearing an eye patch under his glasses is definitely an easy joke. At first, I kind of liked the eye patch. I felt like Nick Fury, the bald guy who led the Avengers and S.H.I.E.L.D. And then I tried to draw, and it was even harder than before. I guess it made sense. I could only look through one of my kind of broken eyes. I was down to under a month to finish my comic, and it was more difficult than ever. The glasses over the patch just isn't working, Travis said, then turned to Gavin. It's like he's trying to look tough, but can't quite pull it off. Gavin laughed loud at that one. He be the dread pirate Four Eyes. And we were back to the pirate voice. That wouldn't really work, I said. They looked at me for a moment. I wouldn't have 4 eyes, I explained. People call people with glasses 4 eyes because the lenses reflect the eyes underneath. But because of the patch, you couldn't see an eye, so I would only have 3 eyes, or maybe 2 eyes, depending on how you count them. And the dread pirate 2 eyes sounds like most pirates. Well, most people. Not like anything extraordinary, you know. I forced myself to close my mouth before I went off on how glass over your eye doesn't actually constitute another eye. Whatever, Travis said and pushed me. It wasn't super hard or anything, but I stumbled back a few inches. You're all right, though, right? Gavin asked, putting one arm around me. He used to do that when I had made a good catch and we'd walk back to the sideline. Your eye didn't fall out or anything. Kind of, I admitted. I'm going to need surgery. because my cornea had torn so badly I needed a new one. It was like putting on a new windshield, except before I could have surgery done, they had to have another cornea available. I was on some waiting list. A replacement cornea sounded pretty awesome, but the amount of things that could go wrong with me had me worried, really worried. It was like those commercials for pills where they pay the fast talking man in the universe to go over all the possible ways their drug could kill you if you take it, except this was about me and my eye, and going blind was on the list. They expected the surgery would happen in a month or so. I needed to finish my comic before then. Whoa, no fun, Travis said. I'm sure he wasn't actually worried about it. Yeah, Gavin said, but the patch, that's crazy. Dread Pirate Four Eyes repeated. I guess he didn't understand my explanation or he didn't care. Eventually, the two broke off. See you later, Squint. This was going to be a very long day. As soon as I walked into science class, I looked for Mikkel. Her desk was empty. Too bad. I kind of wanted to see her, even if I'd only been a challenge. I plopped down in my seat, pulled out my portfolio, and started working before class started. I heard whispers about my patch, but I had to draw. At least the best I could. Then I'd finish my comic and I'd win the contest and everyone would regret making fun of me. I tilted my head and got to it. Flashes of light burst through the dark as Gun and Squint fought. Rock even got in a chomp on Gun's leg. Stupid rock dog, Gun said, turning the fireball bazooka on him. Rock dove behind a broken octopus assassin, but just in time for a fireball to blast it into a million shards of almost nothing. A little help? Rock barked out to Squint. I'm going to be pebbles as soon if you don't do something. But Squint was a step ahead of him. Streams of light shot from his daggers back at Gun. This is for stealing the Empress and leaving me for dead. Ah! Gun screamed, shooting back to block the attacks. Suddenly, a stone the size of a basketball backboard slammed into Squint, throttling him to the side. He barely stayed conscious. He knew what had hit him. Another Centurion had shown up. Traz. A punch from the gloves of his former friend sent large stones careening toward anyone he attacked. Another stone rocketed toward Squint, his head still swirling. Squint barely leapt to the side, and his cape maneuvered under him. The boulder rushed past, close enough that he could feel the breeze from its momentum. Awesome action. I was proud of that one. Squint soared and dodged as his two former friends attacked, but they had capes like his. Traz joined him in the skies while Gun attacked from below. As Squint swooped past Gun, he noticed something strange. Something was different about the back of his neck. After another swoop, he got a better look. He still wasn't sure what he saw. It seemed like a group of black scales on the back of Gun's neck. What's growing on your neck? Squint asked, firing his daggers. Comic rule, even during the most intense battle ever, comic book characters take the time to have a conversation. What are you talking about? Gun asked. Are you trying to distract me? As he soared by Traz, Squint saw that the boulder punching Centurion had it too. I loved the mystery of the black scales. I still had to decide when Squint was going to figure out what they were. Rock leapt from his hiding place and raced at Gun. He went to take him by surprise, but Gun heard him and leveled his bazooka at the rocket dog. This was it! No! Squint screamed and dove at Gun, firing his light daggers as fast as possible. He was able to knock his former friend off his feet, but got slammed by one of Traz's boulders. At the same time, Squint careened from his cape and was pinned against the wall. The right side of his face seared with pain. His vision blurred and started to fade. He hadn't been clever enough, not fast enough, not good enough. We left you alone, Traz said, now standing over him. You should have stayed away. Apparently a blurry version of his former friend would be the last thing he ever saw. But something. I heard my teacher say something, but I was in the middle of this. Squint was trapped in a desperate situation. A diamond hand punched out from nowhere and Traz went flying. I don't think this fight is fair, a female voice said. As Squint fell unconscious, he saw what he thought was a girl entirely covered in diamond. She wasn't sparkly like the gem on the end of a ring, but uncut rock naturally formed in the shape of a girl. Flint, an adult voice said. Here, I said, sketching my new character. She was hard to draw. I wasn't that good at girls, and drawing one that looked like uncut diamond wasn't easy. But I really thought she was working. I tilted my head again to try to see a bit better. I had to admit, Mikhail had a great idea. This isn't the beginning of class, Mrs. Brenner said. I looked up. Of course it wasn't. I'd been sitting in her class for at least 8 minutes while she went over some announcements. Oh, I'm passing back your tests, Mrs. Brenner said. Come and get yours. She raised a stapled sheaf of paper. I wanted to punch the desk. Completely embarrassing. Worse than back when my eyes were going bad and I hadn't even realized Gavin had thrown the ball to me in a football game. It had nearly hit me in the back. I hadn't even tried to catch it. This was worse. I was wearing an eye patch with glasses over it, and I answered my teacher like she was taking attendance when she was trying to hand me a test. I jumped up from my front corner seat and walked toward the center of the room. Something hard slammed into my hip. I swallowed a grunt and hit my lip. You okay? A girl in my class asked, but I didn't turn around. Watch out for those desks that jump out at you, someone said. Neither Gavin nor Travis was in my class, but there always seemed to be someone like them to try to be them or trying to be like them. Be respectful, Mrs. Brenner said, correcting whoever said it. Middle school rule, if something terribly embarrassing can possibly happen, it will. Apparently, I had walked into the corner of another desk. Hadn't seen that coming. It had taken me by surprise like the boulder that hit Squint. I bit the inside of my mouth, trying to hide the pain, and grabbed my test. I narrowed my eyes, trying to make out my grade in red ink at the top of the page. I didn't want to bring it right up to my face where I might be able to make it out. Not with everyone watching. Plus, I needed to make sure I noticed any desks that might attack me on my way back. When I made it to my seat without incident, I checked the page again. C+. Ugh! I used to get good grades. Of course, that was back in elementary school when I could see what the teacher wrote on the board. Mikhail Panganabin, Mrs. Brenner said. She obviously practiced that last name before. Mikhail! She held another test in her hand. Oh, her voice dropped a little. That's right. What did that mean? Did the teacher know why Mikhail was gone? I hoped it was a family vacation, but something about the way Mrs. Brenner spoke didn't make it seem like a happy reason. I hope Mikhail wasn't sick or something. I looked back at my drawing. I was going to make the next panel completely black, like Squint's hopes and consciousness. It was deep and symbolic and stuff. During the entire lecture, I kept glancing at Mikhail's empty desk and sneaking in a little more drawing time. If I was always this distracted, I would definitely need a science tutor. After class, I couldn't take it anymore. I walked up to Mrs. Brenner. Hey, Mrs. Brenner, I have a question for you. Sure, she said. And I meant to ask, are you okay? Yeah, I said. I was grateful she didn't ask in front of the whole class. My cornea tore. Now I'm waiting to have surgery. Oh, wow. Her brows lifted. I'm sorry. How serious is the surgery? Well, I paused a second. I hope I'll be okay. I need a new cornea, so right now I'm waiting for a donor. Mrs. Brenner exhaled a little longer than normal. That's pretty intense. Anything I can do? I shook my head, but appreciated that she asked. Students never did. I hope it all goes well, Mrs. Brenner said, and keep me updated. When you have to miss some class, I can make sure you get the notes and homework. Thanks, I said. Then I stood there more awkwardly than I liked. How should I ask this? I opened my mouth and let the words tumble out. How long has Mikhail been gone? Not that it's really my business, I'm just curious. Mrs. Brenner looked at me for a moment before answering. She's been gone as long as you have. Is she okay? I asked. Mrs. Brenner looked at me for a moment. I tried to read her eyes, but Though my left eye had been better than my right, it still had its issues. It's not really my place to answer that, she said. That sounded serious, like my surgery serious. Was Mikkel going through something like that? But I didn't know how to find out. I could wait until she came back to school, but I didn't want to. If she was going through something tough, I wanted to know about it. Could you give me your number so I could call her? I asked. Mrs. Brenner shook her head. Sorry, she said. I have that information, but only because I'm her teacher. I can't give it out. What if I ask the office? I asked. She shook her head again. Same answer. Okay, I said. Hopefully she'll be back soon, Mrs. Brenner said, but I do feel comfortable telling you that she could probably use a good friend when she comes back. I nodded, though I wasn't really sure what that meant. All right, that's the end of chapter 11. Okay,